Hey guys, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a more in-depth look at these new ESP15s from Digital Designs. They're going to be converting all of their current woofer line over into the ESP series. So far we've got the 8-inch, which was first, then the 10, now the 15, next will be the 12, and lastly the 18 will probably come. The 21, I don't think they'll be doing a full ESP. I think they'll just be making a spacer for the spider so that the wider ESP spiders can fit onto the open tool 21-inch basket there. It's not a DD basket, it's open source. Whereas these new ESP baskets are made by DD, they're tooled in-house, and yeah, they're specific for DD. No other brand has that basket. So, features for the ESP series, we have the ultra wide cone. Now this is a 15, but it won't fit into the majority of your 15-inch boxes. The cutout is quite a bit bigger, and the overall size, edge to edge, is bigger than your average 15. It's a little bit more similar to the HCCA, I guess. I haven't actually compared the measurements, but I imagine it's something similar to that. Basically, what this then allows for is a massive cone area. From the inside of the surround here to the inside of the surround, you have 14¼ inches. That is massive for a 15-inch. If you take your Sundown X, ZV4, Team, NSV3, etc. woofers, which have the humongous wide roll surround on them, which is totally unnecessary, just see how much cone area you actually have on that Sundown. Then do the maths with the XMEC, the mechanical limit. You do the cone area times by the excursion. You do a whole kind of like equation that I can't bother to say off the top of my head right this second, and you can work out the volume of air that each woofer displaces. The advantage with having a bigger cone is that your surface area of sort of air movement plate, if you like, is much bigger. And it doesn't matter about the angle of the cone, whether it's really deep, steep cone or whether it's a shallow cone, because the air is sitting, you've got basically, imagine like a completely flat surface of air, almost like you filled the cone up with water. So if you fill up the cone with water to the edge of the surround here, it is the top surface of the water that you take into consideration when you're talking about displacement of air. So regardless of how deep the cone is, it's the top, the two-dimensional surface area of the top that you take into consideration when you're talking about air displacement. Now, usually when you have a massive cone and a smaller surround, you are giving up some excursion. However, this is not the case with the ESP 15-inch series or any of the other ESP series woofers. That is thanks to a very tall roll surround that is reinforced with these ribs that are actually a different sort of foam density to the rest of the surround. They're absolutely lovely. They feel very soft and bouncy. Unlike the kind of budget woofers you see, Lanzar Max or old school Kicker, whatever you like, that has these ribs on the surround. They are just a sort of design feature for visuals, and they're the same density of foam as the surround, and they do not help with keeping the excursion linear. Whereas with this woofer, because they are a much softer rib and they're spaced exactly where the surround would normally deform under huge excursion, they actually stop the surround from deforming. They bend in slightly at its peak excursion and stretch out the other way. And that keeps, because they're all around symmetrical, that keeps the cone completely linear in its excursion and stops coil rock at these peak excursions. Another feature of the ESP15 is these massive 10-inch spiders. Now, not only are they absolutely huge, let's just turn the ISO up a little bit, make it a little bit brighter up in here. Not only are they absolutely massively wide, they're a very tall roll as well. The sort of pits and the peaks of the rolls are very tall and very deep, and this will allow for massive stretch in the spider and will allow for crazy excursion levels. I haven't measured these, the mechanical limits of these exactly like I did previously with the old 99 series and the Sundown team, but from what I can understand, the mechanical limit you're looking at for these is around about 95 to 98 millimeters of mechanical peak excursion, which is what you use in a competition situation. Now that, coupled with the bigger cone area, will give these DD ESP woofers far more displaced air than any other 15 on the market that I can think of. Now this one is in complete standard form. Obviously with DD you have a variety of upgradable options, for example supercharging, which will put a big lump of Neo on the top of the pole, which is inside of the coil former there, and that strengthens the motor by about 25%, will increase efficiency, therefore increasing box rise, allowing you to wire your amp down lower if you need to do that, and it's just a fantastic option. You've also got 3 different levels of spider. You've got soft, standard and stiff, and you've got either paper cone, gloss weave carbon cone, or the dry large weave carbon cone, and you've got coloured dust caps and carbon dust caps and all sorts of stuff like that. You can even have the baskets powder coated in a colour that suits you. And for coil options on the 95 and the 99, you've got dual 0.5 and dual 1. I'm really happy with the changes DD is making to their woofer lineup with the ESP series stuff. It's coming away from the kind of old school, higher frequency SPL days. People are these days demanding far more excursion and linear control and lower frequency response than ever before. And I think DD is taking a step in the right direction with this woofer. By adding the much wider spider, going for a huge cone area while still keeping a sensible surround. Doesn't need to be any bigger than that. As you can see in the excursion videos, it does its job perfectly to maximum excursion. And yeah, they're keeping all the same qualities that they've had over the years that's built them up the strong reputation that they have, and bring it into the modern kind of woofer that is able to play low frequencies that basically everyone is after.